الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين شفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين وأصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Observing the prophetic trends within the Holy Quran, we find a distinct feature coming through in terms of what they were trying to attain and in terms of their struggles. What we see is that they were not thinking of their immediate context, rather they were thinking for the future of humanity. These prophets, no matter who and to what capacity they came in, whether they came to local communities, whether they came to nations, whether they came to tribes or humanity at large, they were all vested with one singular responsibility to bring the best out of mankind and from mankind. And the best that they understood as bringing out from mankind was not only their intellectual progression and their technological advancement. Rather, the best that they sought was for the creation of a human virtuous community. This immediately shows to us that our life upon this earth and our khilafah, stewardships, is one of creating a virtuous, godly, moral society based on genuine concern for humanity, and one in which we tend to God in a very, very genuine, substantive manner and become something from within ourselves. Now, if you look at the past prophets, Hud and Saleh, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it very clear that Allah sent Hud as a brother to his community and Saleh as a brother to his community, and Nabi Nuh as a brother to his own community. Now, if you look at the early prophets, Hud, Saleh, Nuh, Shu'aib, Lut, you will find a particular thing coming out, that they all pointed out to their communities that what they were doing was immoral and unvirtuous. They had no problem with the technological advancements of their community. In fact, they praised them. They said, "Do you not see how you build, carve houses within mountains? What a lofty achievement it is. The gardens that you have created and how God has given you plentifully and abundantly of His grace and His favors." The only thing they challenged was, be grateful, be righteous. Let there be a sense of nobility, a sense of justice. Adhere to human values. Adhere to that which is befitting at your human level. Do not exploit others. Let there not be this two-class system of the very rich and the very poor in abject poverty. And do not be promiscuous. These were the sort of messages these prophets brought to their people. Have a sense of higher, nobler purpose within your souls, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase you many folds over. In fact, this is what Nabi Musa said to Fir'aun, that God has given you all of these things. If you were to thank God, if you were to become virtuous from within, if you were to release the Israelites from captivity, which is an unjust action of yours, God would perpetuate your kingdom. So they had no problem with people being affluent, with technological progress. In fact, they spurred on technological progress. From the religious literature, we know that it was the prophets who were the ones responsible for bringing in new technology at different phases of human history. And in fact, it was the Prophet Idris who taught for the first time how to read and how to write and how to record knowledge. It was another Prophet who taught them how to stitch garments. So maybe it was Idris himself, Salamullah alayh. So the prophetic message was only one: create a virtuous community. Now, when their people did not pay heed to them, they took their believers out of their localities and the rest were destroyed. Now, why was the punishment given to those people and why were the others saved? In order that corruption, that moral corruption, that lack of virtue, that waywardness, that turning away of the heart from a nobler state may be eradicated, a new start may be made once again. That has always been the aim, so that then these people would give birth to generations of people that would come who would be righteous and good people. That was the only concern. They wanted to create a virtuous community, and that seems to be the destiny towards which humanity needs to strive at and achieve in order to attain its success. Now, if you look at Nabi Nuh, he prays to Allah and he says, "Oh Allah, do not leave any one of them alive, because if you leave them alive, they will beget only criminals and transgressive people." If you look at Nabi Musa, he makes the same prayer again, that, "O Lord, allow them now not to believe, for there is no good left in them. Let them be taken away from the face of this earth, so that the righteous people may have a fresh start once again." In the prophetic trend, we find this message coming out, one in which people need to be endowed with a nobler state of existence, one of care, one of wanting good for all, and one of becoming virtuous and creating a virtuous society. Now, were these prophets opposed to the idolatry of these people to the extent that they were so offended that God destroyed them? If we look at the Quran very carefully, we will find no, it wasn't idolatry that caused their destruction. It was the immorality and a valueless system that resulted through their idolatry that brought about their chastisement. You see, the people have never been destroyed on account of idolatry. If you look at the message of the prophets within the Quran, they will always say, "You are transgressive people. You are immoral people. You are people who are promiscuous," as Nabi Lut said to his people. "You are bandits and you are promiscuous." They were not affected by their idolatry per se, but because the idols were used as a means for condoning an unvirtuous state, an inhumane state. The inhumane state with idolatry was the real problem. So modern day Hindus are not a problem. If you ask the Hindus, is transgression okay? They would say no. We need to have a just society. If you ask them, is promiscuity okay? They will say no. It's obviously not okay. There has to be standards established by nobility. Is abject poverty okay? They will say no. There should be a fair, just society in which there is proper distribution of wealth and people eat and everybody has a roof over their heads. So the modern day Hindus cannot be classified as those idolaters who were destroyed by the divine chastisements. In any case, if this is clear that the problem of the prophets was this inner waywardness, transgression upon the other, lack of nobility in upholding human values, and lack of virtues, then we look at something else in order to emphasize that the human destiny is one destiny. Think about this carefully. When COVID came, it became a pandemic. We realized that if we do not contain it in one locality and area, it has the potential of spreading and threatening the very existence of mankind as a whole. So if we share in our physical destinies by the sheer example that COVID has been able to prevail over every region of this world, then similarly, we share in our destiny at a more meaningful level, at that moral, spiritual, human level as well. That if the majority of the people are physically fit and able, they will survive and they will attain the fullness of their existence at a physical level. Similarly, at an intellectual level, if people are allowed to question, to inquire, if they're allowed to go beyond labels of sacredness that do not allow them to question and interrogate, they will evolve intellectually. In the same way, human destiny is tied with our moral beings, our virtuous beings, that humanity will grow into human values when one and all awaken to the fact that there are inalienable human values. There are human rights that cannot be discriminated against, that everybody has to have equally. Similarly, there is a state of nobility that one and all possess. Similarly, there is a calling for inner virtuous state where we become godly people and virtuous people. It is that which seems to be marking the success of humanity, a collective destiny in which we are flourishing intellectually, understanding nature, nurturing nature, caring for nature and using it to our benefit as well as the creatures of God and the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. Similarly, we need to become morally refined, we need to become virtuous, and that seems to be the whole goal of human beings. Now, it would be naive of anybody to think that I can be personally pious and the rest of the world can do whatever it wants to. It's a big failure, because this is against what every prophet has taught. Every prophet was a social reformer. They wanted good for the majority of the people. They did not distinguish on the lines of religion. They distinguished on the lines of virtues and human values and inner godliness. They did not want anything to do with transgressive people. So if we come to this sort of a theology that we can be pious as an individual or as a group of or as a sect within a religion, then that will not only not allow for the success of humanity, inevitably it will cause our own damnation. Now I want us to understand something else. That Ibrahim, Allah said to him, "Inni ja'aluka linnasi imama." I am making you an imam for humanity as a whole. And there has been no greater imam than Ibrahim. In his own time, he faced his father and the idolatry that they were committing. As a young man, he was enraged. He went and broke the idols and he was mocking at them. He was just reacting to the situation because he had been brought up in that atmosphere. And when he realized the truth, he was extremely offended. He was flung into the fire. God saved him. He escaped from that place, or they banished him. He faced the celestialists who worshipped the stars and the sun and the moon. He debated with them rationally. He won the debate. They did not believe in him. He left them. He met a king who said he is who is the God of all. He engaged with him. He disproved the king, and then he had to flee from there. Ibrahim did not have followers in his own time, apart from Lut and his wife and so on and so forth, a few handful of people. He lived in a place where he did not preach and have a great following. Yet Allah says, "I'm making you an imam for mankind as a whole." And he has been the only imam that mankind has witnessed for mankind. He is the father of the Abrahamic faiths. The three major faiths of this world are all within Ibrahim's rule and imama. They are all indebted to Ibrahim and the trend of monotheism that he set forward. In fact, if you look at Hinduism and you look at Hindu mythology and the stories, you will find a lot of similarity and parallels with the biblical stories. If you look at their virtue system, their morality, their mannerisms, you will find, hold on, from whence are these inspired? In fact, Ibrahim seems to be the father of the majority of religions upon the face of this earth. For Allah to say to Ibrahim, "You are going to be the imam for mankind," it shows it's one mankind with one destiny. The odd thing is that Ibrahim makes a prayer, Salamullah alayhi, and he says, "Oh Allah, send to the people who will come in Mecca a messenger from themselves, who will recite upon them your verses and teach them your book." So Ibrahim understood that he can withstand differences of cultures, ethnicities, nations and nationalities. He can even withstand differences of religious formulations and the shape that the teachings of God takes. This is an insight from the Quran that human destiny is one destiny in terms of humanity becoming virtuous, moral, upright, righteous. And that is where the success of humanity lies. Not in Shia saying that we are Shias and we're waiting for the Imam, or the Sunnis saying we are Muslims with the Shias, and this is not the way. Or the Christians saying you can only have salvation through Jesus. All of this seems to be inaccurate. Success for humanity is one success, one singular destiny. There is something beyond religious persuasions. And that is what? The commonality that is within us as humans, our want to intellectually explore, our want to become morally refined, our want to become virtuous individuals and possess that divine light within ourselves. And I think this stage of human success can also withstand not only differences of religion, but differences of people's understanding of what God is. For somebody who talks about a personal God and somebody who talks about an impersonal God, all of them can equally achieve these goals. Two more notes. The Blessed Prophet was sent to mankind as a whole. The Quran says this. For the entirety of mankind I'm sending you. And the Blessed Prophet, 2 points, constructs an ummah, the initial ummah, with pagans, Jews, Muslims, and made allowance for people of the book. He gives salvations to even the Sabians, who were removed from their books and their prophets, and who had certain theologies that would look very close to certain features of idolatry. He even said the Zoroastrians are the people of the book, treat them like the people of the book. If you look at their dualistic approach to cosmology and to creation, you will think, are they monotheistic or not? But for the Prophet, they were people of the book. He said, you're all same, treat them like the people of the book. In fact, he was so broad that he gave that final ingredient, which is the essence of what we are talking about, and essence of where we need to arrive at. In that beautiful verse that he recites, in Surah Hujurat, I believe, O mankind, we have created you of a single man and a single woman. We have made you into many nations and tribes, so that by mutual interaction, you may come to recognize that the best among you is the one who is most God conscious and God mindful and God like. Imagine the yardstick of success that the Blessed Prophet is putting. In that one verse, he's giving mankind a singular status. You are one in essence. And your success is in your godliness and virtuous state. And because you are tribes and nations, you cannot be otherwise. I will finish at this point by saying that we share one destiny. As our origin is singular, we have created you from one soul, the Quran says. The destiny is singular. We are greatly mistaken in thinking that we can attain our paradise and the rest of the world can go to hell. It's not like that. It's not like England saying that we can be safe from COVID and Wuhan can deal with it. No, it is our problem as a human community. Wuhan could not deal with it, and majority of the deaths after US are in UK. We share physical destiny. If we share the physical destiny, then we share the moral and spiritual destinies by priority. The spiritual success of entirety of the humanity guarantees the spiritual success of their individuals. But the individual spiritual success does not only not guarantee their own accurate spiritual success, it does not guarantee the spiritual success of anyone. A final point, I suppose, on this note is that the Quran makes mention of this, that people will be driven into paradise in troves and groups, and people will be driven into hell in groups. And when they enter into hell, they will say, which community prepared this for us? And they will curse their sister communities. It seems very clear from the Quran that destinies are intertwined. Success of all is the purpose for which we have been brought down upon this earth. It's the final Juma of the month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not make this our final month of Ramadan And may Allah accept our devotions and our fasts and whatever little we have been able to do. And may Allah have forgiven all our sins for those who can fast and obviously for those who cannot fast. It is the inner fast that is in question here. And if it is the final month and Allah has destined this to be our final Ramadan, then may He be pleased with us and take us to Him in a way that we are also pleased with Him. Let us pray Surah Fatiha for all those who have gone before us and for the well-being of all those who are unwell and sick. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal Asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Very, very briefly, with this in mind that humanity, its success is gauged by the majority of human individuals arriving at the level of being virtuous from within, of being educated, of living a proper life, of becoming moral, then the duty incumbent upon us as people of the world, irrespective of what faith we belong to, is to inculcate these sentiments within the minds of the younger generation. For they have not been plagued by discriminations or superiority complexes or distinctions on basis of status or color or religion. To endow them with this human, godly message that your task is to make this world a better world. You will not only suffice with becoming a pharmacist or a doctor or an accountant, which you should, but you should aspire through becoming a pharmacist and a doctor and an accountant to bring about a better world through whatever profession Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants you. If you become a wealthy businessman, then you need to adopt a philanthropic attitude and alleviate poverty. We need to engage in microfinancing so people don't feel that they are begging, restore their dignity. You need to go into politics and then talk about human justice and fair play within our borders and beyond our borders, and the way our foreign policies are structured, because they have been very, very unfair. You need to go into politics and say that we cannot sell arms to people who are killing innocent people who have no protection, who are defenseless. We need to create humanitarians, thinkers, philosophers, mystics that can bring about a befitting state of humanity. We should no longer be thinking about personal and private prestige, that I will become this and I will earn this. No, my prestige and success lies with humanity at large. Humanity is in a ripened state right now. Religions have lost their charms. Religions are now remodeling themselves, are giving themselves a facelift. From being exclusivist religion, now every religion wants to cry out that we are inclusivist. And then they will go on to the next level of their progression and they will say we are pluralist. Beyond the name of God and beyond namaz and going around the Kaaba and going to the Wailing Wall is the essence of God and the beauty of humanity. Every religion will cry out that that is what we want. This is the tomorrow that is coming. We can accelerate it by educating our children properly, that your education, your life is owed to humanity at large, It's not yours. You are humanity at large. Your success is not in your individual capacity. Your greatest success is in the success of humanity, for that is your greater self. I find it strange when people of religion, they say, I pray for my Muslim brothers, or I pray for my Sunnis, and I pray for my Shias. This just shows how much in need of intellectual maturity we are. First and foremost, the people of religion should transcend the restrictions of religions and limitations of religion, because God is supposed to free them, not to confine them. A man of religion is supposed to be a servant of the human community. Nobody should say, I pray for my Christian brethren or Muslim brethren. We should say, I pray, oh Allah, for our human family. That's the sentiment. In any case, we need to teach our children and not be worried about how much they will earn, but be worried about how well they will contribute, given the strengths that Allah has given them, to the well-being and the flourishing of humanity. That is the sentiment with which now people at my age need to work through, and we need to leave this world imparting this sense of responsibility to the younger generation, that you are indebted to God and you are responsible to the human family. May Allah help us and bless us. And there is a lot of hope, because human beings are evolving now, and we are seeing this in the fold of every religion and non-religious people. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Muhammadin al-Mustafa wa ala Aliyin al-Murtada wa ala Fatimata al-Zahra wa ala al-Hasan al-Mujtaba wal Husayn al-Shahid bi Karbala wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn